भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधरा श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे राम राम हरे हरे. So we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 1, the first step in God realization, and text number 18 to 118. नियच्छेद विषभ्यो अक्षन् मनसा बुद्धि सारथि मना कर्माभिरक् अक्षिप्तम् शुभर्ते धारयेद्धियः. नियच्छेद विषभ्यो अक्षन् मनसा बुद्धि सारथि मना कर्माभिरक्षिप्तम् शुभर्ते धारयेद्धियः. Synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Niyached, withdraw. Vishebhyo, from sense engagements. Akshan, the senses. Manasa, by dint of the mind. Buddhi, intelligence. Sarathihi, driver. Manaha, the mind. Karma bhi, by the fruit of work. Akshiptam, being absorbed in. Shubha arthe, for the sake of the Lord. Dharayet, hold up. Dhiya, in full consciousness. Translation. Gradually, as the mind becomes progressively spiritualized, withdraw it from sense activities, and by intelligence, the senses will be controlled. The mind, too absorbed in material activities, can be engaged in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and become fixed in full transcendental consciousness. Would anyone like to read the purport, please? Purport. The first process of spiritualizing the mind by mechanical chanting of the pranava, Omkara, and by the control of the breathing system is technically called the mystic or yogic process of pranayama, or fully controlling the breathing air. The ultimate state of this pranayama system is to be fixed in trance, technically called samadhi. But experience has proven that even the samadhi stage also fails to control the materially absorbed mind. For example, the great mystic Vishwamitra Muni, even in this stage of samadhi, became a victim of the senses and cohabited with Menaka. History has already recorded this. The mind, although ceasing to think of sensual activities at present, remembers past sensual activities from the subconscious status and thus disturbs one from 100% engagement in self-realization. Therefore, Sukdev Goswami recommends the next step of assured policy, namely to fix one's mind in the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, also recommends this direct process in the Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Thus, the mind being spiritually cleansed, one should at once engage himself in the transcendentally loving service of the Lord by the different devotional activities of hearing, chanting, etc. If performed under proper guidance, that is the surest path of progress, even for the disturbed mind. Om Ajnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Narayanam namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayet nashtraprayeshu bhatreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati nashtaki mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yakripatavaham vande Shri Guru Dinataranam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. So in this section of of this verse, particular verse that we are discussing in the past two verses that we have discussed, verse 16 and 18, where Shukdev Goswami is describing the process of Ashtanga Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. And yesterday we heard from Sanatan Prabhu about the glories of Omkar. So when the word suggests, the word as the word suggests, Ashtanga, Ashtanga means 8. Ashta means 8. Anga, that means this process of Ashtanga Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, has 8 components. It starts with Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyan, and then Samadhi. So until yesterday's verse, we had Prabhupada has already discussed about pranayam, until pranayam. So this verse talks about mainly today about pratyahara and dharana. And then tomorrow's verse will be more on dhyan and samadhi. So in the purport, Prabhupada is explaining that how practically it is impossible to control the mind by this process of Ashtanga Yoga. Prabhupada gives a brief, elaborate description, not a brief, sorry, an elaborate description of this process of Dhyana Yoga in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And in that chapter, Prabhupada explains that how in this age and in this time that we are in, it is so difficult to go out in the forest or to go in a secluded place, sit in asana, and withdraw the senses from the sense objects and perform the dhyan. Even in the 33 verse of chapter 6 from the Bhagavad Gita, which, like I said, Prabhupada elaborately explains that how this process is Arjuna himself expresses his inability to Krishna, to Lord Krishna. When Lord Krishna suggests him this process, then Arjuna expresses his inability, that how this is so difficult to perform. Arjuna says that, O Madhusudan, this system of yoga that you have summarized appears very impractical, unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. So in this, in this particular purport, Prabhupada explains that how it is so difficult to practice this type of a yoga for so many reasons. One, we have a very short duration. In Kali Yuga, the duration of life is very short. People hardly live for 80 years. So in such short duration, if people take out time to go out in the forest and practice such a yoga, the chances of success are it's not possible itself, because if we are asked to sit at one place for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, we find it very hard. We would want to get our phone, or because the mind is so restless, we want to read something or we want to do something. So this process is, Prabhupada says, it's practically impossible. In the purport to these verses of 6th chapter in Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that why it is impossible or why it's not possible, because he gives various reasons there. One is that people are not serious about self-realization. That means for them, if we ask somebody, who are you? They don't know that they are the soul. So most of the people, they live in this illusion that they are this body, and this is what they have to. This is be all and end all. That means I am just the body, and I am this position. If you ask them who are you, they would just describe the designation that they have achieved. I'm a mother of two. I work in this firm. I have studied this. So these are the designations that with which they identify themselves with. So people are not serious about self-realization. And even by, Prabhupada says, even by simple practical means, if you ask them to come to the temple, or if we see it ourselves, if we ask them to chant something, or if we ask them to take the japa mala and read or chant, they just find this it's difficult. So what to speak of such a difficult yoga path, which Arjuna himself expressed his inability to perform. He just said that and Arjuna was not one of us. He was, this we are talking about Dwapar Yuga, so 500 years back. And he's not a conditioned soul like us. He's quite elevated in his consciousness. So for him to say such a thing, that means it is actually very difficult to practice such a yoga. In this verse, how this verse starts. Niyached vishebhyo kshan. Niyached means withdraw. Vishebhyo is sense objects and akshan means senses. So this verse is saying that we bring back the mind from the different sense objects, from the Vishyan. And then Prabhupada explains in the purport that how we see the great mystic Vishwamitra Muni, even at the stage of Samadhi, he became a victim of his senses. So it's not easy. And the first argument that Arjuna also says to Krishna was in Bhagavad Gita is that chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramathi balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayuriva sudushkaram. That means, oh my dear Krishna, that this mind is very flickering, it's obstinate, it's stubborn. So it is so difficult to control this mind. It is even difficult. It's easier to control the wind, but very difficult to control the mind. And then Prabhupada gives this, often Prabhupada gives everywhere this analogy about how he compares this mind, body, intelligence, soul to a chariot. That how the horses in the chariot are like the different senses which are running wild everywhere. My ears want to hear something, my eyes want to see something else, my tongue wants to taste something, while my nose wants to smell something else. So my senses are, they are wild, running in different directions. So these senses are compared to, the horses are compared to the senses, and the horses are controlled by the reins, and the rein is compared to the mind. And the driver, the person who is controlling those reins is the intelligence. And the passenger in that chariot is us, the soul. So why is this, so it's easier to understand, right? Like if the driver or the intelligence is strong enough, that means I'm able to control my mind. So therefore, the function of the intelligence is it has to control the mind. And when here Prabhupada is saying that the intelligence function is to control the mind, it means the scriptural intelligence based on the scriptures. It does not, it's not talking about the material intelligence, because unless our intelligence is backed up by the scriptures, by the shastras, we will not be able to overcome the mind. But we see in this age, it is so difficult to control because the power of this mind is so strong that even though our intelligence is giving arguments to the mind, we are still swayed to do things which we are not supposed to do. It's like how when someone has acute infection, they may surpass the efficacy of the medicine, right? If someone has a terminal illness, so it cannot be cured by paracetamol. right? So in this regard, Prabhupada says that even though we may have the intelligence to take the medicines, still the medicines are not capable enough to conquer the mind. Similarly, our intelligence is not capable enough. Our material intelligence is not capable enough to conquer the mind, because so many lifetimes, so many previous lifetimes, we have only chosen illusion. We have chosen illusion over Krishna. So mind is so accustomed to doing this, or taking the shelter of Maya rather than Krishna. In the verse the verse where I just said Chanchalam hi mana Krishna, where Arjuna is giving this argument to Krishna that the mind is so obstinate, so flickering. In that purport, Prabhupada writes, though, that the easiest way to control the mind is by following the method prescribed by Lord Chaitanya, which is chanting of the holy name. Prabhupada writes that this chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra, the great mantra for deliverance in all humility, is the method to control the mind. So in this age of Kali, the great means for deliverance is chanting. So, we may argue that, well, I have been chanting for so long, or I've been chanting for so many months, so many years. However, still, I see how my mind is so strong. It's still obstinate. I don't have the taste to chant the holy names. I don't have. Every day, I spend 2 hours with my japa beats. But I'm more interested in the 16 counter beats rather than the 108 japa beats. Why is that? So we see that the primary practice, like we've studied how Prabhupada is saying here that this Ashtanga yoga is it's impractical, or it's not possible to achieve such success in this type of yoga. And then Prabhupada suggests in the end that how one should engage in transcendental loving service of the Lord by different devotional activities. And for us bhakti yogis, we are following this process. The primary practice for us is chanting. And still we see we don't have the taste. Every day we are spending 2 hours, but still there is no longing for, or we don't look forward to chanting. We are more interested in, finishing our rounds. It's because so many lifetimes we have chosen this illusion. We take this illusion so seriously. Krishna Maharaj says that we take this illusion too seriously. Here today, gone tomorrow. And it's this, and we forget that this material world is like this transit lounge. When we are traveling from one country to another, we sometimes change flights and we are in a transit airport. So for us, this material world is a transit airport. It's a transit lounge where we have to travel from this transit lounge to the spiritual world. And just imagine if we are in a transit lounge, what will be the utmost importance for us that time? Our utmost importance would be, I just hope I don't miss the flight. My focus would be, I would be counting, hours, minutes. How many minutes are left now to take off the flight, right? Like that, we are always conscious in the transit lounge that I hope I don't miss my flight. So for us also, because we forget this material world is a transit lounge, we take things so seriously here. And that's the reason that we don't put our heart in the practices that are going to take us out of this material world. That means our chanting. We don't put our heart into chanting, right? Sanatana Goswami. So I was thinking today that let's meditate on how to improve japa, how to improve our chanting. Why not we make those 2 hours that we chant for Krishna the best 2 hours of our day? So in this regard, Sanatana Goswami gives, in Hari Bhakti Vilas, he gives 6 rules for good japa. So Sanatana Goswami is a Sambandha Acharya. Sambandha Acharya means he is the one who is training us to develop our relationship with Krishna. And scriptures say that when we follow these 6 rules, as mentioned in Hari Bhakti Vilas by Sanatana Goswami, we can make japa a fulfilling experience. So in this regard, Prabhupada, in Madhya Lila, Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Lila, chapter 4, he says that he makes a very profound statement in the purport that all the Vedic literatures are meant to understand Krishna. But one cannot understand Krishna without being a lover of Krishna. And so this is such a profound statement. So unless we experience the loving emotions with Krishna, I cannot understand Krishna. So every day we are getting this opportunity while chanting to develop our relationship, a deep relationship with Krishna. So I'll quote the verse from Hari Bhakti Vilas. He gives 6 rules for japa. The verse goes like this: Mana samskaranam shaucham monam mantrartha chintanam avyagratvam nirvedo japa sampatti hetava. So the very first rule is mana samskaranam. That means I pull back my mind, bring back my mind to listening to the japa, to listening to the mantra that I'm chanting. So for us, when our mind wanders, that is a natural state because the mind is flickering by nature, so it will wander. However, when we realize that our mind is wandering, am I still continuing with the lousy japa that I was doing? Or I just bring back my mind in listening to the mantra that I'm chanting. So mana sanskaranam means that I am practicing pulling the mind back to listening the mantra. The second rule that Sanatana Goswami gives is shaucham, means cleanliness. So how we wake up in the morning and we take bath. So that's an external gross level. Or at the time of initiation, we take this vow that no meat eating, fish or eggs. So we are conscious what we are putting into our body. We try not to eat too much spicy food because that is not good for our health. So we are consciously, trying to put clean stuff in our body. Similarly, for shaucham here means we are also conscious what we are putting into our mind. I am not. That means I am. I'm very conscious of what I am. What my mind thoughts are during the day. Or what am I associating with? What am I watching? Any gossip that am I doing, or any bad news that I'm watching, or any videos or any reels that are irrelevant to this to my bhakti. That means I am so when I'm not following this rule, that means I'm violating the principle of shaucham. Shaucham means how we keep our house clean, how we keep our body clean. Similarly, I also keep my mind clean. I'm very conscious of what I'm putting into my mind. The third principle that Sanatana Goswami gives is maunam. Maunam means not talking anything unnecessary. Or it's like, so when I say maunam, doesn't mean silence. It means I'm not talking anything material or anything unnecessary. It's like how the very first verse of Updeshamrita is Vacho Vega, or control of the tongue. Vega means the urge. So we are practicing integrity of speech, and we will realize, over a period of time, we realize that when we save a lot of energy when we don't talk. Because when we are not talking, we are hearing from others, we are listening from others, and it requires a lot of humility to listen from others. Like how sitting and listening to a person, it's a sign of humility, because we all like to talk. But given that proclivity, if we are still able to control our tongue, and listen, then that means we are developing self-control. We are practicing self-control. And that, when we conserve that energy, that means we can utilize that energy in chanting our rounds nicely. The fourth principle that Sanatana Goswami gives is mantra artha chintanam. That means I am remembering the meaning of the mantra while chanting. So, the first technique is mana sanskaranam. That means I pull back my mind to listening to the mantra. But sometimes what happens is that while we are practicing the first technique, we just become like a controller. We try to control the mind by, just listen to this mantra, listen to this mantra. But our practice, our bhakti yoga, the practice of bhakti yoga is not, it's not a practice of pulling the mind control. Our goal is not mind control. Our goal is not, just pulling the mind back and listening to the sound. We also meditate on the meaning. And the meaning of the mantra, Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, is that, my dear Radharani, my dear Krishna, please engage me in loving devotional service. And Krishna, I love you, I want to serve you. So please help me. And then so for us, the intention is more important than just simply controlling the mind. So we meditate on the meaning of the mantra while chanting. The fifth principle that Sanatana Goswami gives in this regard is avyagratvam. So avyagratvam means no rush, no stress about finishing my rounds. It means while chanting, I'm practicing also patience. That means I don't take out the beads from my japamala and see how many beads are left. It's like, we don't have that, when we don't have that eagerness to finish the rounds, that means I'm practicing avyagratvam. But if I have that eagerness, that desperation to finish it, I'm violating this principle of avyagratvam. Avyagratvam means, it doesn't mean that I go very slow, or I just grew, like I chant like this, or Hare Krishna. No, it's not like I go too slow. It means that I'm with Krishna, and I just tell Krishna that I'm not in a rush. Sometimes I can say that for myself, that I want to rush to my round so that I can do different things. But that's not the goal. The goal is chanting. That's why I have picked up my beads. But my back of the mind, I'm thinking, I'm planning my day like that, I will finish my rounds in 7 minutes. And that means, 102 minutes or whatever minutes. So like that, I'm not counting. I'm not thinking of rounds in terms of time. I just tell Krishna that I am practicing, I am with you, Krishna, and I'm not in a rush. And that's the principle of avyagratvam. I'm not in a desperation to finish my rounds. The sixth principle that Sanatana Goswami gives is anirvedo. That means determination or steadfastness, even when we don't feel like chanting or we don't feel happy while chanting. That means I'm practicing patience. I'm also persistence. I'm persistence with my practice, even though I'm not experiencing ecstasy. And there are so many times we don't experience ecstasy the way we experience happiness in Kirtan. We don't experience the same happiness in Japa. Patanjali Yoga gives that what are the 3 criteria for sadhana? 3 criteria for sadhana is, one is when we are practicing, sadhana means we practice something for a long time. So it is has a longer duration. It's a long-term project. One criteria is long-term project. Second is we are practicing without any breaks, without any interruption. It's not like I'm not going to chant for 1 day or 1 week. We don't take any breaks. And third is we invest emotions in that practice. So Anurvedo means I say that I don't want immediate results, even though I am not experiencing happiness or ecstasy while chanting japa, but I still keep doing it. So persisting with the practice despite feeling no reciprocation. Still, and then, that makes Krishna very responsive. Krishna sees our efforts, that even though I'm not feeling happy, or even though my mind is taking me to so many different places, I still don't give up on chanting. I still keep on chanting. So we just discussed, sorry, it's 7:01, but I'll just give a summary of what we have discussed. We have discussed how Prabhupada is giving this the process of Ashtanga Yoga in this particular verse about Dharana and Pratyahara. And then Prabhupada gives that how the ultimate system of pranayam system, or this Ashtanga Yoga, is go in samadhi. But even though when we are in samadhi, there are chances of fall down. So Prabhupada is prescribing us the methods of devotional service. And then we discussed the six rules for good japa by Sanatana Goswami. The very first is we practice pulling the mind back to listening to the japa, which is manha samskarana. Second is we shocham, which means we are conscious of what we are putting into our mind. Third is maunam. We practice, we don't talk anything unnecessary. Fourth is mantra artha chintanam. That means I'm meditating while chanting japa. I'm meditating on the meaning of the japa, on the meaning of the mantra. The fifth principle is avyagratvam. That means I'm not in a rush to finish my rounds. I'm there for Krishna. And sixth is anirvedo, which means even though I'm not experiencing happiness, I still keep chanting. So I'll stop here. Apologies, I've gone 2 minutes over 7. If anyone has any questions, any comments, any realizations?
Hare Krishna, Mataji. With the fifth one, not in the rush. In the modern well-being, one of the strategies is to be in the flow. And that is a definition that we are so absorbed in doing what we are doing that we really don't realize the passage of time. So that reminded me of that, being in the flow.
Yes. Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Mataji, where is the reference for this these principles? If there's a possibility, could you please put that just like where can I find these on the chat so I can find it and then write it down somewhere for myself? Sure. Share that in the group. Thank you.
It's from Hari Bhakti Vilas from Sanatana Goswami. I'll share it. Anyone else? Thank you everyone for joining. Grantraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Have a blissful Krishna conscious day, everyone. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. Thank you for the wonderful class.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.